SpaceX is developing its next-generation Starship rocket to one day launch dozens of people to space. While CEO Elon Musk has emphasized that the rocket has many milestones to go before it can take passengers, but it's only a matter of time until the space shuttle is ready for launch. Starship represents the company's top priority, as Musk wants to build a fully reusable rocket system that can launch cargo, or as many as 100 people at a time. While SpaceX's current Falcon fleet of rockets is partially reusable, as the company can land and reuse the rocket's boosters, Musk hopes Starship transforms space travel into something more akin to commercial air travel. This project could be a game changer for space travel and exploration. If there's any chance of humans colonizing space, Starship is our best shot at doing so. The specifications that Elon Musk has given for Starship are impressive for any rocket ship. The SpaceX Starship is a mammoth, towering at a whopping 120 meters in height. With a weight of 5,000 tons when holding a max payload, it is objectively huge. The spaceship will lift off with little if any fuel on board to maximize the space for payload, people, cargo, or a combination of all. According to SpaceX CEO Elon Musk's 2016 Starship proposal, the cosmic vehicle will carry upwards of 100 people per flight, with eventual plans to make upgrades for the shuttle to carry up to 200 people. That's incredible, especially considering that a capacity of 200 people puts Starship on par with what some commercial trains can carry. While the Starship design is not yet in its final form, chances are that what we see in the blueprints is what will likely end up becoming reality. So how exactly will SpaceX utilize all this space? In today's video, we are diving deep into what life will be like on this marvel of technology. On Starship's official user's guide, SpaceX mentions that the crew configuration of the ship includes spaces like private cabins, large common areas, centralized storage, solar storm shelters, and a viewing gallery. But if SpaceX wants to put people on Starship for an extended period, things become much more complicated. Life support systems add weight and complexity to the vehicle. Astronauts need places to exercise and sleep, air to breathe, and water to drink. And if Starship is supposed to start a lunar base, which Musk has proposed numerous times, then the higher radiation environment of the moon will require advanced forms of shielding. Musk reiterated that Starship will need to operate on a brisk schedule, ferrying many megatons of cargo per year to the Red Planet to establish and maintain a human presence there. Musk said the spacecraft is being designed with the plan of flying it for an average of 3 flights per day, each carrying over 100 tons per flight, for a total of more than 1,000 flights per year per vehicle. Ultimately, Musk says that he hopes to achieve a construction rate of 100 Starships being produced per year, with a goal of hitting 1,000 in total in service over the course of the next decade, which can transport as much as 100 megatons per year in cargo, or about 100,000 people per Earth-Mars orbital sync in terms of human passengers. That translates to a schedule of roughly once every 2 years, when Earth and Mars are closest to one another because of the coincidence of their respective orbits around the Sun. Musk has addressed life support and human health in his Starship talks before, but only briefly. In his most recent presentation, the SpaceX CEO was asked twice about the types of life support systems that Starship would use. "I don't think it's actually super hard to do that. Relative to the spacecraft itself," Musk said, "the life support system is pretty straightforward." A life support system encompasses all the things needed for humans to fundamentally survive here on Earth. Anything that keeps the crew alive and functioning and keeps that environment safe for them is really the life support system. SpaceX already has some experience with life support systems with its new crew capsule called Crew Dragon, which just took off with 4 astronauts from the International Space Station. However, providing life support for a short trip to orbit is much different than the one that's needed to keep people alive for weeks and months in deep space. Here's what SpaceX is planning to do. For one thing, both oxygen and water can only be supplied in a limited number of containers on a trip to orbit, just enough to get people to their long-term destination. On the International Space Station, though, where people live for months at a time, a regenerative system is put in place for things like oxygen and water, meaning they're recycled in a closed-loop system. Urine and sweat are recycled and turned back into drinkable water, while some of the water is split apart into oxygen and hydrogen in a process known as electrolysis to produce free oxygen so that people can breathe. SpaceX might adopt a similar mechanism to produce water and oxygen. Elon Musk has confirmed that the life support systems on Starship would be regenerative. Things become a little hairier if SpaceX wants to establish a long-term presence on the moon. For one thing, the longer people live away from Earth, the more exposure they have to deep space radiation and galactic cosmic rays. These are highly energetic particles that radiate from the sun or distant sources outside our galaxy. They can pierce through skin and other materials, causing damage to biological tissues. Living on the moon will entail a completely different level of exposure, and if the sun has a major solar flare, it could send a large dose of radiation toward the moon. The best option is to create habitats that are covered in lunar dirt, which will require lots of excavation and construction equipment. Musk hinted in his latest presentation that SpaceX might do this too. But if that's the case, decisions on that need to be made well in advance before founding any lunar city. The long-term plan for the Starship missions to the moon is to establish a launching point for future exploration and possible colonization of Mars. SpaceX also plans to build a solar-powered factory on the red planet that will use the carbon dioxide and ice water in the planet's air and soil respectively to generate methane and oxygen, the propellant used by the Raptor engine. Experts don't even know if humans can live a healthy lifestyle in the low-gravity environment of the moon. Our bones and muscles are accustomed to Earth's gravity. These tissues might deteriorate more quickly on the moon, which has 1/6 the gravity of our planet. Exercise can mitigate that, but researchers ultimately don't know if that would be enough or what kind of equipment is needed. There's also just the basic comfort of people to think about. Design decisions like lighting and the angle of chairs during launch can have impacts on how people feel and behave. Musk has talked about sending 100 people up in Starship, with each person getting about 10 cubic meters of space, but that still might not be enough in the grand scheme of things and mess with people's mental states. There is no doubt that the road to establishing a permanent human presence in the cosmos is going to be a long one, but many people think that now is the best time for such a mission. We have the tech, we have the minds, and we have a reason. Climate change. No wonder every billionaire is trying to get off the planet. But jokes aside, if SpaceX manages to deliver on their promises and this doesn't turn out to be another case of Elon being overly optimistic about his capabilities, this will be a revolutionary step for humanity. Humans inhabiting different planets has always been a popular part of pop culture. I mean, let's face it, everyone has at least once wondered what it would be like to live somewhere other than Earth. And SpaceX is more than capable to pull off something like this. Within a decade, SpaceX successfully launched a rocket into orbit in 2008. By 2016, it had landed a 14-story rocket booster back on Earth in one piece, on the ground and on a ship at sea, a triumph in an industry used to discarding expensive rocket bits in the ocean. Today, SpaceX regularly flies astronauts into orbit on a transportation system that is designed from start to finish and is the only private company to have earned that responsibility. Well folks, that is it for today's video. Let us know what you think in the comments section below. Leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Remember to tap that bell icon to keep up to date with all our latest content. Until next time, bye.